we begin with some NFL talk with DeAndre Hopkins, as a few weeks ago, the Arizona Cardinals released all-pro receiver DeAndre Hopkins. And so DeAndre Hopkins is now a free agent, and he has had visits with the Patriots and the Tennessee Titans. And so when it comes to DeAndre Hopkins, obviously DeAndre Hopkins is a 3-time first-team all-pro receiver, second-team all-pro receiver twice in his career, 5-time Pro Bowl receiver. He was the NFL receiving touchdowns leader in 2017. And for his career, DeAndre Hopkins, he has 853 receptions, 11,298 receiving yards, 71 touchdowns. I believe he is one of the greatest receivers in this generation. And at one point in time, I felt like he had great hands. I thought he had the best hands in the NFL. And he's a possession receiver who can go up and get the ball at his highest point. DeAndre Hopkins is great as a red zone target, because if you are inside the 20, you know D-Hop can go up and grab the football at his highest point. That's what he's known for. I remember that one game a few years ago between the Buffalo Bills and the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals were down to their last chance. The Bills were winning the game. All the Bills needed was one stop to win the game. And it was one play where Kyler Murray rolls out to his left and he just flings the ball up in the air, just giving DeAndre Hopkins a chance to be able to catch a game-winning touchdown. And D-Hop catches the game-winning touchdown pass from Murray over 3 Buffalo Bills defenders. 3 Buffalo Bills defenders were trying to deflect the pass and defend D-Hop, and D-Hop was able to elevate over 3 Buffalo Bills defenders. Arizona wins the game on that particular play, and I thought to myself, oh, D-Hop is the real deal. I mean, I already knew D-Hop was great, and I knew what type of player he was, but that catch in that moment, it was spectacular. It was spectacular, and I feel like when I look at DeAndre Hopkins' career, he played with Deshaun Watson in Houston. He was Deshaun Watson's best receiver in Houston, and I thought they had great chemistry. But for whatever reason, Bill O'Brien, who was the head coach of the Houston Texans, he didn't want D-Hop in Houston. I don't know if they had a bad relationship or if they couldn't coexist as a head coach and a receiver. But for whatever reason, Bill O'Brien, he traded DeAndre Hopkins out of Houston to Arizona. And I felt like that was the beginning of the end for Deshaun Watson in Houston. Now, we know Deshaun had other things going on as well outside of football that was going on. But that was the beginning of the end for Deshaun Watson in Houston, because me and other people were asking, why would you trade away DeAndre Hopkins, your best receiver, on your team? It made no sense at the time. Made no sense. Bill O'Brien has been fired. Obviously, he's moved on, but the Houston Texans have also moved on. And I don't like some of the things that they have done from a head coaching standpoint. You know, hiring David Culley and hiring Lovie Smith just to fire them. I ain't gonna make this about the Houston Texans, but I didn't like those moves that they made. And those are African American coaches, and I'm not going to apologize because I support African American head coaches in the National Football League. I do, and I don't like the way that the Houston Texans did David Culley and Lovie Smith. But that's another conversation for another day. But they traded away DeAndre Hopkins. He goes to Arizona. And over the last few years, he's been dealing with a lot of nagging injuries. Kyler Murray obviously got hurt last year as well. So we haven't really seen the best version of DeAndre Hopkins in a while. It's been a while. Last year, he had only 64 receptions, 717 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns. He hasn't had a 1,000-yard season since 2020. So I'm looking forward to seeing which team brings in DeAndre Hopkins and if he can get back to playing at a high level and being one of the best receivers in the NFL. Because, like, he's different than other receivers. Like, Jamar Chase and Tyreek Hill, they have the breakaway speed. But DeAndre Hopkins is more like a Megatron, more like a Larry Fitzgerald. He can go up and get the ball at his highest point. So I believe that if you add DeAndre Hopkins, he can help your football team become a Super Bowl contender. And so I have my top 5 landing spots for DeAndre Hopkins. Let's go down my list. The number 5 team, who I believe is a top landing spot for DeAndre Hopkins, it's the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending NFC champs, led by Jalen Hurts. Could you imagine DeAndre Hopkins with Devontae Smith, with A.J. Brown in that Eagles offense? DeAndre Hopkins already said he wouldn't mind playing with a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, but with Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and DeAndre Hopkins, that would easily be the best receiving core in the NFC and maybe possibly in the NFL. I know the Bengals got Jamar Chase, they got T. Higgins, they got Tyler Boyd, but D-Hop, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith with Jalen Hurts, I believe that would be great for DeAndre Hopkins. And he'll have to share some of those reps with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, but he will put himself in a position to be on a Super Bowl contending team with the Philadelphia Eagles. My 4th best landing spot for DeAndre Hopkins is a team that no one is really talking about, and I believe that they could be one of those teams who quietly could use DeAndre Hopkins. It's the Cleveland Browns. DeAndre Hopkins would get an opportunity to reunite with Deshaun Watson, and I believe that the Cleveland Browns would benefit from having a receiver the caliber of a DeAndre Hopkins, because their number 1 receiver currently is Amari Cooper. And Amari Cooper is nice, but DeAndre Hopkins is better than Amari Cooper is. And so we know that the Cleveland Browns have an elite running game with Nick Chubb. But this year, in order for the Cleveland Browns to compete in the AFC North and compete in the AFC, they need to elevate their passing game, and they have the quarterback to do it in Deshaun Watson. If you can bring in a receiver like DeAndre Hopkins and put him on the other side of an Amari Cooper, I believe that would make the Cleveland Browns a contender in the AFC North and in the AFC overall. So the Browns are my 4th top 5 landing spot for DeAndre Hopkins. My 3rd best landing spot for DeAndre Hopkins is the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, the Baltimore Ravens, they signed Lamar Jackson to a new contract. Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens' days of feuding amongst each other are officially over. They also signed Odell Beckham. I'm happy for Odell because I hope Odell can come back and prove why he is one of the best receivers in the NFL. But for many, many years in Baltimore, the Ravens didn't have great receivers around Lamar Jackson. When I look at the top quarterbacks in the NFL, Jalen Hurts has Devontae Smith. He has A.J. Brown. Patrick Mahomes previously had Tyreek Hill. He has Travis Kelce. Josh Allen has Stephon Diggs. Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase. Who has Lamar Jackson had as a receiver who he can throw the ball to? So they already made a move for Odell Beckham. If they make a move for DeAndre Hopkins, to me, that would show Lamar, okay, they serious. They serious about being able to put weapons around me so I could be successful as a pocket passer? Because that's the next step that Lamar Jackson has to elevate into. We know Lamar Jackson is a great mobile quarterback. He can make plays with his legs. But in order for the Baltimore Ravens to be true Super Bowl contenders, they need Lamar Jackson to be a consistent pocket passer. And I believe adding a receiver the caliber of a DeAndre Hopkins on the opposite side of an Odell Beckham would make the Ravens and make Lamar Jackson be true Super Bowl contenders in the AFC. So I believe that the Ravens are another great landing spot for DeAndre Hopkins. They come in at number 3. The number 2 best landing spot for the services of DeAndre Hopkins is the Kansas City Chiefs. Number 1, the reason why they are a great spot for DeAndre Hopkins is it would put him in a position to compete for a Super Bowl. And as great as Deshaun Watson was in Houston, as great as Kyler Murray was in Arizona at times, because he had moments where he played very, very well, DeAndre Hopkins ain't never played with a quarterback the caliber of Patrick Mahomes. And last year, remember, even though the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, the weakness was their receiving core. Juju Smith-Schuster was the Chiefs' best receiver last year on their run. That tells you everything you need to know about the Chiefs and their receiving core. Their receiving core was average at best. I'm being nice. I'm being nice because it's Friday. But that Chiefs receiving core was below average. So DeAndre Hopkins, if he goes to Kansas City, you know Andy Reid will have plays for D-Hop to be effective and be able to get him the football. So I believe that this would be the perfect role for DeAndre Hopkins, and it's something that the Chiefs need. It's something that they actually need to continue to have that offense playing at a high level. DeAndre Hopkins and Travis Kelce would be nice. It would be nice. So I like DeAndre Hopkins also on the Kansas City Chiefs. But the number 1 best landing spot for DeAndre Hopkins is the Buffalo Bills. And the reason why I believe that the Bills are the number 1 landing spot for DeAndre Hopkins and the best landing spot is because could you imagine DeAndre Hopkins with Stephon Diggs? I believe that the Buffalo Bills last year in the playoffs, in their loss to the Bengals, they got exposed. And I don't think adding a receiver like DeAndre Hopkins would hurt the Buffalo Bills. I think it would help their offense to another level. It would help them get to another level. We know that they have to run the football better with their running backs because they run the ball a lot with Josh Allen. But if you got a receiver the likes of Stephon Diggs and DeAndre Hopkins, that would help your offense produce at a high level. It really, really would. And as great as Gabe Davis is as a number 2, he doesn't deserve to be in the conversation with the Stephon Diggs or a DeAndre Hopkins. And I love Gabe Davis. But Gabe Davis, I look at him like there are other receivers who are number 2s who are better than Gabe Davis is. Like Jalen Waddle to me is better than Gabe Davis is. T. Higgins arguably is better than Gabe Davis is. I think they're more closer than Jalen Waddle is. I think Jalen Waddle is on another level. I really do. But I don't like. I think that if they were able to add a DeAndre Hopkins, he would become a very, very solid red zone target for Josh Allen in this Bills offense. So the Bills are the best landing spot for DeAndre Hopkins services. But there's been reports out about how he's previously met with the Bills. Not the Bills, the Titans and the Patriots. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm guessing D-Hop wants to get paid because there's no way he believes that Ryan Tannehill and Mac Jones is going to be able to get him the football consistently and help him compete for a Super Bowl. There's no way he believes that. No way at all. Not when you have other teams who have quarterbacks like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Jalen Hurts. It got to be about the money. There have been reports out over the last week and a half about how he met with the Titans last week. This week, he met with the Patriots. He took a picture with Judon, the defensive end for the Patriots. It got to be about the money if he signs with the Patriots or the Titans. It ain't about winning, and it damn sure ain't about production. But those are my top 5 landing spots for DeAndre Hopkins. Eagles at 5, Browns at 4, Ravens at 3, Chiefs at 2, Bills at 1.